नमस्सर्वेभ्यः। अष्टाध्यायी परिचयः इत्यस्य अद्य एकादशः पाठः। अद्य आरभ्य अस्य अष्टाध्यायी परिचयवर्गस्य द्वितीयं परिच्छेदं वयं प्रारभामहे। So we are starting the second module of this course today. This will span 10 classes from class number 11 to 20. And the central theme of this module is Paniniya Praveshaha. So in this module, we will be focusing on Sutra Patha, Dhatu Patha, some other aspects of Paninian grammar. And most importantly, we will also study some of the extremely important techniques used by Panini in creation of Ashtadhyayi. सो अस्यैव विभागस्य अस्यैव परिच्छेदस्य अद्य प्रथमः पाठः इत्युक्ते मूलक्रमेण एकादशः पाठः। अस्मिन् वर्गे अष्टाध्यायी सूत्रपाठस्य परिचयं प्राप्नुमः। आदौ वन्दनं। शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। येनाक्षरसमाम्नायमधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः। वाक्यकारं वररुचिं भाष्यकारं पतञ्जलिं पाणिनिं सूत्रकारं च प्रणतोऽस्मि मुनित्रयम्। अस्माकं वर्गस्य प्रयोजनद्वयम्। अष्टाध्याय्याः आहत्य 400 सूत्राणां व्याख्यासहितम् उदाहरणसहितं च अध्ययनं तथा च अष्टाध्याय्याः प्रथमाध्यायस्य प्रथमपादस्य कंठस्थीकरणम्। So let's begin. And as I mentioned in the beginning, we are starting the second module of the course. The second module is centered around the theme of Ashtadhyayi Sutra Pathaha. So when it comes to the study of Sanskrit Vyakarana, it is no doubt that Ashtadhyayi Sutra Pathaha is one of the central themes. It forms the major chunk of it. But we have to understand that it is not only the Ashtadhyayi that one jumps in or jumps on right on the first day when they start studying Sanskrit grammar. So on a very high level, the study of Sanskrit grammar, Vyakaranadhyayanam, can be considered as divided into three fundamental steps. Vyakaranadhyayanasya trayah sopanaha. The first step is Bhashadhyayanam, where you start speaking the language, where you start understanding, read basic books and understand what is written over there. व्याकरणस्य मुख्यानां नियमानां पाठ्यपुस्तकानाम् आधारेण अत्र अध्ययनं क्रियते. So the focus over here is to speak. Little mistakes are okay, but you should be able to understand verbs, you should be able to understand vibhakti forms and all that. And there are many books that help you in achieving that goal. So you have Nama Rupavali, Dhatu Rupavali, Kridanta Rupamala, Shuddhi Kaumudi, you have Rachananuvada Kaumudi, you have courses like Patrachara Dwara Samskritam or Gita Pravesha, Gita Sopanam, and so on. And most of you have already cleared this level, and therefore now you are in a position to go to this next step, which we call as Sutradhyanam. यत्किमपि भाषाध्ययनसमये अस्माभिः पठितं तस्य साधुत्वस्य सूक्ष्मरूपेण अस्मिन् सोपाने अध्ययनं क्रियते. So you learn a rule with some remote cases here and there. So for example, you learn a rule of hnatva. When does na becomes na? So ramena versus say devena. And then the rule says some weird things like there is an at letter and there is a single pada and multiple padas and so on. And you want to go into details of that. So sukshma rupena adhyanam. You exactly want to understand what is the process, what is the prakriti, what is the pratyaya. If you are at that stage, then you come to this particular sutradhyanam sopanam and you refer to Ashtadhyayi, you refer to commentaries of Ashtadhyayi, you register for courses like Ashtadhyayi Parichaya and so on. And once you are quite comfortable with the sutras, you know how this entire system operates, you go to yet another step, which is the Shabda Bodha, which is the Shastra Adhyanam. Remember, Vyakarana has two sides. One is Prakriti Pratyay Vibhagena Shabdanam Sadhutva Pratipadanam, and second is the Shabda Bodha. where you talk about the relationship between the shabda and the artha. So karakanam, lakaranam, sukshmaha, arthaha atra drishyante. So for example, you say Ramaha grantham pathati as a kartari prayoga and Ramena granthaha pathyate as a karmani prayoga. And on the face of it, they are just the same, just the rules are being used to convert the karta into tritiya and so on. But is there a fine level semantic difference between a kartari prayoga and a karmani prayoga? These kind of questions are discussed and answered in these particular advanced stages. And we have seen some of those books. For example, we have seen some verses from Vakyapadiyam. So books like Vakyapadiyam, Vyakarana Siddhanta Manjusha, Vyakarana Siddhanta Karika, Vyakarana Bhushana Sara, and so on are used in this particular advanced stages. So obviously in this course, I'm not going to teach this advanced stage of Shastradhyanam. I'm not also going to teach Bhashadhyanam. You all are expected to already know stuff like Krudanta forms, or you must have studied Kovida, Shiksha, and so on, Gita Pravesha, and so on. So you have covered step 1, and you are not yet prepared for going to step 2. So the middle step 3, not prepared for going to step 3. So the middle step, the step 2, which is the bridge between the first and the third step, that's going to be the focus of our course. And therefore, from now onwards, from today onwards, we are going to start with this particular aspect of Ashtadhyayi and Ashtadhyayaha Vyakhyanani. Now, when we come to Ashtadhyayi, I had advertised while starting this course that I don't expect people to know anything about Ashtadhyayi, but based on many of the homeworks, at least 70% of the homeworks that I have graded, I think people are a little bit more knowledgeable than what I was expecting in the beginning. So, because this is the very first class on Ashtadhyayi Sutras, I think most of the stuff that I'm going to teach today might be probably familiar to a lot of you. And when I am that confident that it is familiar to a lot of you, there is no reason for me to give out any answers. So let's open up for the discussion. On the next multiple slides, there are going to be questions, and I want you to raise your hands if you want to give the answer. I'll unmute you, and then I'll ask you to give the answers. So 90% of the class you are going to teach today. I'm just going to listen. Let's start. And if you are one of those who does not know answers to these questions, don't worry, we have scholar friends in the class who are going to help us out today. So let's start. Ashtadhyayi iti shabdasya vyutpattihi kidrishi asti. Anybody who wants to answer this question, please raise your hand. I'll ask you to unmute and then you can answer. Purnima ji.
नमस्ते महोदय। अष्टानाम् अध्यायानां समाहारः इति अष्टाध्यायी।
Very good. Ashtanam Adhyayanam Samaharaha iti Ashtadhyayi. Your goal is to say exactly the things that are written over here. It's going to be fun. Thank you very much. Let's go to the next question. I'm going to ask one person, one answer, so that we have many participants today. अष्टाध्याय्यां कति अध्यायाः प्रत्येकम् अध्याये कति पादाः पादेषु किं वर्तते? सुधावल्ली वासुदेवन.
नमस्कारः महोदय.
नमस्ते
महोदय. अष्टाध्याय्याम् 8 अध्यायाः सन्ति.
प्रत्येकम् अध्याये
4 पादाः सन्ति.
पादेषु
पदेषु किं वर्तते? पादेषु सूत्राणि.
अष्टाध्याय्याम् 8 अध्यायाः प्रत्येकम् अध्याये 4 पादाः. सो दैट्स 32 आहत्य 32 पादाः. पादेषु सूत्राणि वर्तन्ते. वेरी गुड. लेट्स गो अहेड. अष्टाध्याय्यां कति सूत्राणि सन्ति? मुग्धा.
चतुस्सहस्रं सूत्राणि
अष्टाध्याय्यां प्रायेण approximately चतुस्सहस्रं सूत्राणि सन्ति, approximately 4000. The exact number you do not need to remember, but is given over here 3983 इति विशिष्ट संख्या. सूत्रेषु किं वर्तते? Very simple actually. You don't have to tell. I mean, what is there in Ashtadhyayi? What is the most fundamental thing that will be there in Ashtadhyayi? Chinmayi.
व्याकरणनियमाः
Uttamam. Very good. Sutreshu vyakaranasya niyamaha vartante. Even if you know this much, you are in the right place. You don't need to know anything beyond this as of today. So Sutreshu vyakaranasya niyamaha vartante. Ashtadhyayam kim na vartate. Now, obviously, there are millions of things that are not there in Ashtadhyayi. For example, cooking techniques or fighting techniques are not in Ashtadhyayi. But in context of with the sutras, what is not there in Ashtadhyayi? Madhavi.
व्याख्यानं न वर्तते तत्र.
उत्तमम्. So सूत्राणाम् अर्थाः न वर्तन्ते, उदाहरणानि न वर्तन्ते, स्पष्टीकरणं न वर्तते. So it's only going to say वृद्धिरादैः. It's not going to tell you what it means, what are the examples, what are the counter examples, and so on. Okay. अष्टाध्याय्याः रचना कालः कः? When was Ashtadhyayi constructed? Anybody? Vidya ji.
प्रायेण 500 BC मध्ये
600 BC, 500 to 600 BC. Usually 600 BC is taken as a ballpark number, but it could be 500, 400, 600, and so on. Typically, the books mention 600 BC. And probably the most difficult question, I don't expect anybody to know this. Ashtadhyayah karta kaha? Come on. There's only one raised hand. If there are no raised, anybody who is unable to raise hand should not be in this class. So Ashtadhyayah karta kaha? Chandra Prabha.
पाणिनेः
Panini Maharshi. Let's call him Maharshi. Panini Maharshi. Okay, very good. So let's talk about Panini Maharshi now. So Paninehe Janmasthalam Kim. What is his birthplace? If you don't know the answer, please make sure to bring down your hand if it was raised for the previous question. So Anam Rani.
Mahoday, previous question.
Okay,
I can tell the second question. Paninehe Mata Dakshi.
Okay, I'll come to that in a minute. Vidya Narayanan. Paninehe Janmasthalam Kim.
अत्र आधुनिक पाकिस्तान् मध्ये शाक्तुतला
Shalatura. The name of the town is Shalatura Gramaha near Lahore in Pakistan, today's Pakistan. Okay, Rani Anam. Paninehe Mata ka Pita kaha?
पाणिनेः माता दाक्षी पिता नाम I don't know महोदय.
See, Dasharathi is derived from Dasharatha, right? So Panini will be derived from what?
Okay. Panini some.
Okay. Mata is Dakshi, Pita is Panina. Just like the way Dasharatha becomes Dasharathi. The first letter becomes Dirgha and an E is added at the end. In the same way, Panina becomes Panini. Sometimes his father is also referred as Panin. So Nakaranta Shabdaha Panin, Tasya Prathama Ekvachanam, Panin iti asti. Paninehe Anujaha, younger brother, Kaha Tasya Kakritihi. Who is his younger brother and what book did he write? Anybody? Not even a single person. Any guesses? It's okay to say wrong answers. Okay, Anam Rani.
Yagnavalkya Maharshi.
No.
Okay,
Sudhavalli.
पिङ्गलः
Very good.
पाणिनेः अनुजः नामः.
Tasya kritihi.
He is a great mathematician. That's all I know.
Okay, more than mathematician, he is well known for anybody. What is Pingalaha well known for? रामशास्त्री.
Om ji. Yeah, Pingala is known for the Chandas Shastra.
Very good. Panine's younger brother is Pingala. Paninehe Anuja Pingala. See, I have collected all this, or I'm in the sense, people have collected all this information from research of various Hastalikhitas and inscriptions and so on. So you have to always take all this with a pinch of salt. But this is the commonly accepted information that I'm just sharing with you. So Paninehe Anujaha Pingalaha Saha Chandasastrasya Rachayita. Paninehe Guroho Nama Kim, who was the teacher of Panini. Panini studied in Takshashila, by the way. And who was the teacher of Panini? Purnima ji.
महोदय तस्य गुरोः नाम उपपर्व इति मम पुत्री उक्तवती सत्यं वा न
Upaparvaha
जानामि
iti nasti. What you are getting
Upavarsa.
confused is Upavarsha,
Varsha.
not
वर्ष
Upaparva. But the name is not Upavarsha, the name is Varsha, who is the elder brother of Upavarsha. So Paninehe Guruhu Varshaha, Varshasya Anujaha Asit Upavarshaha. So maybe he also taught. So maybe Varsha and Upavarsha are both his gurus. We don't know. Vyakyaneshu nirdishtaha Paninehe Shishyaha kaha. There is a name of a student that of Panini that is referenced in the Vyakhyanas. So Vyakyaneshu nirdishtaha Paninehe Shishyaha kaha. Anybody? Any guesswork is also okay. Rani.
कात्यायनः
Nah. Katyayana, some people say it is his Shishya.
Vararuchi.
Some people don't agree to the fact that it is his Shishya. So it's Dayasi. And Vyakhyanas don't clearly mention that Katyayana is a Shishya of Panini. So the question is, Vyakhyaneshu nirdishtaha Paninehe Shishya explicitly is written in the commentaries. Savita ji.
महोदय आपिशलः
Okay, maybe he was his Shishya. Okay, so in the Vyakhyana, the specific name that comes up is Kautsaha. So Upasedivan Kautsaha Panini is a statement that comes up in one of the, I think, Kwasu Pratyaya commentary. So Kautsa is considered as the Shishya of Panini, specifically indicated in the commentaries. Paninehe Anyani Namani Kani. What are the different names by which Panini is well known? Anybody? If you don't know the answer, please pull down your hand. Rani.
Shala Turiyah.
Correct. Anything else?
Another name also there, but I
Okay.
forgot.
Dakshi Putraha. So Dakshaha Putraha.
Dakshi Putraha. Yes.
Paninaha. So because his father is named Pani, that becomes Paninaha. So if you take the Pita's name as Panina, that gets translated to Panini. But if you take the Pita's name as Panin, it becomes Paninaha. Just like the way Marut becomes Marutaha. In the same way, Panin becomes Paninaha. Shalatura Grame Tasya Janma Jataha Janma Jatam Ataha Shalaturiyaha Paniputraha. So Panin iti nama, Pituhu nama, Atha Paniputraha. So there are different names. And the last question, Paninehe Mrutyuhu Katham Jataha. Sudhavalli.
Vyaghra.
So there is one story of Vyaghra, but a more common story is of Simha. So Simhasya akramanena tasya mrutyuhu jataha iti prasiddha katha panchatantre ayam nirdeshaha vartate. And this is exactly the detailed account. So anybody knows this shloka of Paninehe mrutyuhu. So you will not find any course on Ashtadhyayi which has a dedicated slide for a death of Panini. So anybody wants to recite this shloka, it is very easy to recite. Anybody wants to try, please raise your hand and then I'll let you recite the entire shloka and then we'll ask somebody to give the meaning. It's like Ramo Rajamani Sada Vijete. In the same tune you have to sing. Anybody wants to try out? Shall I pick names? Purnima ji.
श्लोकं पठामि सिंहो व्याकरणस्य कर्तुरर्हत् प्राणान् प्रियान् पाणिनेः मीमांसाकृतमुन्यमाथ सहसा हस्तिमुनिं जैमिनीं छन्दोज्ञाननिधिं जघानमकरो वेलातटे पिङ्गलम् अज्ञानावृतचेतसाम् अतिहृषां कोऽर्थस्थिरक्षां गुणैः.
Uttamam. I'm going to ask Anjali ji, do you want to also recite and probably guide us towards the meaning as much as you can? If you can't, that's okay.
I can recite.
Okay, go ahead.
सिंहो व्याकरणस्य कर्तुरहरत प्राणान् प्रियान् पाणिनेः मीमांसाकृतमुन्ममाथ सहसा हस्तिमुनिं जैमिनिं छन्दोज्ञाननिधिं जघानमकरो वेलातटे पिङ्गलम् अज्ञानावृतचेतसामतिरुषां कोऽर्थस्थिरश्चां गुणैः.
Okay,
Dhanyawad.
so anybody wants to specify, give the meaning? There were some mistakes done by both of them, so let me just quickly pronounce it without errors. Understand this tune is exactly like Ramo Rajamani Sada Vijayate. सिंहो व्याकरणस्य कर्तुरहरत् प्राणान् प्रियान् पाणिनेः मीमांसाकृतमुन्ममाथ सहसा हस्तिमुनिं जैमिनीं छन्दोज्ञाननिधिं जघानमकरो वेलातटे पिङ्गलम् अज्ञानावृतचेतसामतिरुषां कोऽर्थस्थिरश्चाङ्गुणैः. Okay, so what is happening in this shloka? What is being described? Anybody? So you all, at least most of you are done Kovida, so you should be able to understand the Anvaya or some kind of artha from this particular shloka. Vidyaji.
वर्यते महोदय.
Avasham.
सिंहः व्याकरणस्य कर्तुः अहरत् प्राणान् प्रियान् पाणिनेः. पाणिनेः प्रियान् प्राणान् पाणिनेः नाम व्याकरणस्य कर्तुः पाणिनेः प्रियान् प्राणान् सिंहः अहरत्.
Correct. Uttamam. Next line.
मीमांसा कृतम् उन्ममाथ सहसा हस्तिमुनिं जैमिनीं. तत्र जैमिनिमुनिना मीमांसा कृतं सहसा तत्र हस्ति उन्ममाथ कथं तत्र तेषाम् तयोः अन्वयः भवति इति एकवारं पुनः.
उन्ममाथ इत्युक्ते उद्गृह्य भूमौ क्षिप्तवान्. प्रथमायां पंक्तौ किमुच्यते? सिंहेन पाणिनेः प्राणाः स्वीकृताः. अग्रिमायां पंक्तौ किमुच्यते? जैमिनिः इति कश्चन विद्वान् आसीत्, मीमांसाशास्त्रस्य मीमांसासूत्राणां रचयिता. तस्य प्राणान् कः अहरत् इति चेत् हस्ति, गजः. उत्थाप्य भूमौ क्षिप्तवान्, तम् उद्गृह्य भूमौ क्षिप्तवान्, तेन तस्य प्राणाः निर्गताः इति आशयः.
अस्तु अस्तु महोदय. सहसा नाम तत्र तदनन्तरं
सहसा नाम सडन्ली,
झटिति इति
अर्थः.
छन्दोज्ञाननिधिं जगान मकरः वेलातटे पिङ्गलं. पिङ्गलं यः पिङ्गलः यः पाणिनेः अनुजः किल,
अनुजः.
तं मकरः वेलातटे छन्दोज्ञाननिधिं पिङ्गलं मकरः जघान,
हतवान् इति आशयः. जघान इति लिट् लकारस्य रूपं हतवान्. पाणिनेः अनुजः यः आसीत् पिङ्गलः, तस्य मृत्युः कथम् अभवत् इति, सः तु छन्दशास्त्रस्य विद्वान्, छन्दशास्त्रस्य रचयिता, छन्दसूत्राणां रचयिता. तस्य मृत्युः कथं जातः इति चेत् मकरः, क्रोकोडैल्, वेलातटे नद्याः तटे मकरः तं जघान. So Panini was killed by lion, Jaimini was killed by elephant, Hasti, and Pingala was killed by Makara. What comes in the fourth line? Who is killed in the fourth line?
अज्ञानेन आवृतचेतसां तिरुषां कः अतिरुषां कः अर्थः तिरश्चां गुणैः तत्र अस्माकम् अज्ञानं व्याकरणेन वा
तत्र किमपि
छन्दसा
नास्ति. No. Listen. So the first three lines say that Siha, who does not know anything about grammar and does not understand the importance of grammar, killed the creator of grammar. Hasti, elephant, basically animals, so they don't have that kind of intellect. So an elephant who has no idea of the Mimamsa, the Purva Mimamsa, killed Jaimini. Makara, who has no clue about the Chanda Shastra, killed Pingala. So Adnyanavruta Chetasam, Yesham Chetamsi, Adnyanena Avrutani Santi, those are oblivious to knowledge. Those are only alive for, eating, sleeping, drinking, and killing others, and so on. Atirusham, and when they become angry, basically the mob mentality. Tirascham, though Tirascham is typically used for animals, though those who don't go on the normal path, those who go on the crooked path. So those who go on the crooked path, Tirascham, Atirusham, Adnyanamrita Chetasam, Gudaihi ko arthaha. They have no importance of any kind of qualities. They will basically kill Vidwan, the scholars, irrespective of what qualities those scholars have. Vidyaji, you want to say something?
महोदय प्रश्नः अस्ति तत्र मेटफोरिकल् अस्ति वा तत्र नाम वयम् अज्ञानिनः स्मः अस्माभिः नित्यं व्याकरणस्य हत्या वा मीमांसा शास्त्रस्य हत्या वा छन्दशास्त्रस्य हत्या वा मृत्युः वा वयं कुर्मः इति अर्थः वा इति
प्रायेण तादृशार्थः उत्तमं चिन्तनमस्ति. तादृशार्थः कुत्रापि लिखितः मया न दृष्टः, परन्तु सामान्यरूपेण येषां चेतांसि अज्ञानेन आवृतानि सन्ति. आवृता is covered, ajnana is lack of knowledge, ignorance, chetasa is minds. So those people whose minds are covered with ignorance, they are being characterized as tirashcham. Those who don't go by the normal path, they are on a deviate path, which to be honest includes all of us. So those who don't study Vyakarana and Mimamsa and Chanda Shastra and don't have respect for any of them are actually killing those people on a daily basis. This might be a very interesting hidden meaning over here. Anyway, so next question is, what is the Chanda in this entire shloka and what is Alankara in this entire shloka? Those who have studied Shiksha and Kovida definitely should be able to answer this question. Otherwise, all your knowledge is in vain. So it's all theoretical knowledge. What is the Chanda over here and what is the Alankara over here? Mugdha.
Arthantaranyasa. Alankara.
Arthantaranyasa. What is Arthantaranyasa? Very nice. What is Arthantaranyasa?
एकस्मिन् पदे एका नीतिः भवति, अन्येषु पदेषु तस्य उदाहरणानि सन्ति.
So when you have a shloka with a few lines giving a general case and few lines giving a special case, this particular alankara, keshuchit padeshu udaharanani vartante, keshuchit padeshu samanya rupena nitihi vartate, is called arthantaranyasa. And what is the chanda over here? Manjiri, Bhagini. You're not audible. You have to raise your volume.
Trishtubha Chanda asti.
No, not this. This is very well-known Chanda. It's not Trishtubha. See this, how I recited this, like Siho Vyakaranasya Karturaharat la 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 la. Which is this particular Chanda? You should always remember the Chandas with the tunes. Never remember Chandas with Guru and Laghu combination. It never works. Remember Chandas with the tunes and you will never forget them. So, but okay, that's some other time.
Shardula Vikrit.
Very good. Shardula Vikridita. So sing a shloka in the precise tone and you will understand the Chanda. Remembering it with the Guru Laghu and Yagana, Jagana, Magana just never works. Okay, remember it in the tune and you will never forget the Chanda. Anyway, so this is all about the Panini death. We started from the birth of Panini 600 BC till death of Panini, all in one class. So this is a nice identity card for Panini if anybody wants to cut it and print it, you are most welcome. So it will give a nice picture of Panini, Namantaram, Mata, Pita, Guru, Mrityuhu, Karya Visheshaha. So the important point is why he is so famous. So Maheshwarat Akshara Samamnayam Svikritya, he got those Iona Ruluk as a gift from Maheshwara. Tatah Asetu Himachalam Bharatavarsham Atitva, he roamed around entire country. भाषायां भाषायाः प्रान्तीय भेदानां सूक्ष्म ज्ञानम प्राप्य, had a keen eye for differences. I'm going to give you an example on the next slide. Sarvesham api vaividhyanam samavesham karayitva. So you speak this language, this dialect of the language, let me put a sutra for that. Somebody else speaks that other dialect of the language, let me put a rule for that. Sarvesham api vaividhyanam samavesham karayitva व्याकरण सूत्राणानां रचनाम् अकरोत् एकवारं लिखितं सूत्रं न पुनः पर्यवर्तयत्. And that's why we pray this Shabda Brahma Samaradhya. At the end of every class we say this Shabda Brahma Samaradhya Sarvascharya Shastram Yaha Krutavan. Even in the age of computer today, we say the very first linguist, very first grammarian is Panini. He had no computers, no, probably don't even know whether he had that kind of developed writing mechanisms or styles the way we have today. But a flawless system of 4,000 sutras has been created. So phenomenal work. No current linguist or computer scientist can match that kind of intelligence, and that's why we praise this. So I started the course by saying Panini Goshpadam. So whatever Panini has created is like one small hole made by cow's leg. But even the scope of that is so huge, and that's why we are praising that over here. So that's basically all about Ashtadhyayi. Let's quickly summarize it on the slide. We have already seen this. Ashtadhyayaha Chatvaraha Padaha 3983 Sutrani. I don't know how to speak this in Sanskrit. If there is one thing that I hate is how to speak numbers in Sanskrit. So Sutra Nirdeshaha Katham Kriyate Adhyaya Sankhya dot, or you can put a dash or a vertical line or a slash, whatever. The general convention is dot. So Adhyaya Sankhya dot Pada Sankhya dot Sutra Sankhya. So 6177 is Iko Yanachi. Ashtadhyayam Kevalam Sutrani Santi. Sutranam Arthaha Padachhedaha Udaharanani Navartante. Ataha Ashtadhyayaha Adhyayanam Vyakhyananam Adharena Eva Sambhavati. Now it is very ironical that Panini wrote these 4,000 sutras, but he never wrote a Vyakhyana for that. And it's not possible to believe it, right? I mean, you just write Vruddhirade Jadainguna Iko Guna Vruddhi and nobody knows what you have written and you have not cared to give an explanation. So that doesn't make any sense. So Pani hi swayam api Ashtadhyayi Vyakhyanam avashyam rachayamasa. He definitely created Ashtadhyayi commentary, must have created multiple commentaries. Unfortunately, none of them are available today. So tat nopalabhyate. But thinking that Panini only created sutras and not a commentary would be completely foolish to even imagine. So Paninina swasya vyakhyanam avashyam kritam syat, parantu adya tad nopalabhyate. Not even the traces. So we can't even have traces that go back and definitely tell us that Panini has created his grammar, his commentary. But Anyehi Krutai, and therefore Anyehi Krutaihi Vyakhyana Adharena. So you have Mahabhashya and you have Siddhanta Kaumudi and you have Kashika and multiple other books are there. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to take one full class on the commentaries of Ashtadhyayi. So Vyakhyana Adharena Eva Sutranam Arthadhyanam Sambhavati. And that's why this very, very important line. So I always say that even before you learn the first sutra of Ashtadhyayi, you should remember and thoroughly appreciate this particular paribhasha, this particular line. Vyakhyaanato vishesha pratipattihi nahi sandehad alakshanam. You see any sutra, you get a doubt. Why is this particular sutra written like this? Why not like this? Why the certain word is present over here? Why a certain word is not present over here? You should go to Vyakhyanas. Don't use your brain, don't use your intelligence. Go to Vyakhyanas. Vyakhyanataha eva, Vyakhyanadeva, Vishesha Jnanam, Sutrasya Sampurna Rupena Jnanam, Vishesha Pratipattihi Bhavati, Nahi Sandehad Alakshanam. Just because you get a doubt, it doesn't mean the sutra is wrong, or it doesn't mean Panini made a mistake. Panini did not make a single mistake, and this is written right there in Mahabhashya. Pramanabhutaha acharyaha darbha pavitra panihi शुचौ अवकाशे प्राङ्मुखः उपविश्य महता प्रयत्नेन सूत्राणि प्रणयते स्म. So Acharya, well respected, one who is an authority, used to take pavitra darbhas on in his hand for writing probably. Shuchau avakashe, on an auspicious moment, he used to sit prang mukha, facing the east. He used to do all the right rituals, mahata prayatnina, with proper thinking and analysis. He used to create the sutras, sutrani pranayate sma. तत्र अशक्यम वर्णेनापि अनर्थकेन, not even a single letter written by Panini is useless. Kim punah yata sutrena. So forget about a sutra being useless or redundant. There is not even a single letter written by Panini which is useless, and therefore alakshana means mistake in the sutra. So don't even ever think that there is a mistake in the sutra. Understand the deeper, the finer meaning from the commentaries. So Vyakhyanato Vishesha Pratipattir Nahi Sandehad Alakshanam. Mahabhashya describes this point even in more details. Samarthya Yoga Nahi Kinchit Asmin Pashyami Shastre Yadanarthakam Syat. Asmin Shastre Anarthakam Syat Nahi Kinchit Pashyami. I cannot see a single thing which is useless or incorrectly written in this particular Shastra. Everything has to be understood in the context to get the proper meaning. Samarthya Yoga. Understand the context first and you will get the meaning. And then Kashika, in one of the examples, very beautiful example, praises Panini. And he says that forget about making mistakes. He has such a keen eye to details that you will be awestruck by looking at the fineness of the sutras. Mahati sukshmekshika vartate sutrakarasya. Sutrakara, Panini, sukshmekshika, very fine eye for the details. So this is basically praise is written by author called Jayaditya in a sutra 4274, Udakcha Vipashaha. So there is this river called Vipasha. Currently it is known as Bias. It is in Himachal Pradesh. It turns out that the wells, the Kupaha, you dig in the soil to get the water. So Kupaha, the names of the Kupas, the names of the wells in the northern bank of the river, this Bias river, northern bank of this Bias river, the names of these Kupas have the first letter as Udatta. Adyudattani namani santi. The names of the wells on the southern bank of the river do not have the first letter as Udatta. So see the difference. And Panini has created a sutra to capture this difference, that if there is a well on the northern part of this particular Bias river, Udakcha Vipashaha, you add an aya pratyay to create that name so that the first letter will become Udatta. And if it is on the southern bank, you add an ana pratyay to create the name of the Kupa so that the first letter doesn't become Udatta. So this way, Mahati Sukshmekshika, such a fine eye or fine thought has gone into the creation of the Sutra Patha. So that was the basic introduction of the Sutra Patha. Here is the Pratipadam Sutra Sankhya. So distribution of sutras. Obviously, I don't expect you to remember or produce these numbers anywhere. Just for your information, 2.2 is the smallest pada. You can just see 38 sutras. This pada contains the sutras for Bahuvrihi Samasa and Dvandva Samasa. The biggest is 6.1. So 6.1 has 223 sutras. I think this is the only pada which has more than 200 sutras. Otherwise, the general number roams around 100, 150 or so. And how are these sutras arranged? Ashtadhyayam sutrani prakaranashaha nibaddhani santi. Ashtadhyayi is not created for students. Understand, there is a law book. Let's take an example of income tax. There is a book, rule book of income tax, and then there are textbooks which will teach you those rules. So you cannot open the rule book of income tax and start reading rules one by one and expect them to understand in a logical manner. Those rules are probably combined with a completely different goal in mind. in exactly the same way, Ashtadhyayam Sutrani Prakaranashah Nibaddhani Santi. So there are rules for deciding whether the dhatu has to be Parasmaipadi or Atmanipadi or Ubhayapadi. These rules are in 1.3 Prathamadhyayasya Tritiye Pade. The entire Karaka Prakaranam, Kartrukaraka, Karmakaraka, Sampradana, Apadana, and so on, are in 1.4 Ashtadhyayaha Prathamadhyayasya Chaturthe Pade. The Samasa Prakaran spans 2.1 and 2.2, out of which 2.1 is Avyayi Bhava and Tatpurusha. 2.2 is also Tatpurusha, overflows from the Avyayi, from the first Prakaranam, first Pada, and then there is Bahuvrihi and Dvandva. The entire Vibhakti Prakaranam from Prathama to Saptami Vibhakti is all captured in 2.3. The pratyayas that are attached to dhatus. So in previous class we have seen there are set of pratyayas like vikarana pratyayas, krut pratyayas, sting pratyayas that are attached to dhatus. All these pratyayas are given in chapter 3. Such a huge variety that Panini reserves the complete chapter 3.1 to 3.4 for pratyayas that are to be added to dhatus. The pratyayas that are to be added to pratipadiks, the sup pratyayas, the tadhita pratyayas, the stri pratyayas, they are even so huge that Panini reserves not one but 2 full chapters for pratipadikebhyah vihitaha pratyayaha. So 4.1 to 4.4 and 5.1 to 5.4. So this entire range is for the pratipadika pratyayas. Then he spends one full pada 6.2. I'm just giving examples, that's why I'm skipping some of the intermediate stuff. So 6.2 is all about the swara nirnaya of a samasa. Remember Indra Shatrur Vardhaswa. So that Antodatta versus Prakriti Swara and so on. That kind of difference is there in 6.2. So how does the swara Udatta Anudatta varies in the samasa? Entire pada is reserved to that. Then you have the next pada 6.3 reserved for samasa prakriya where some transformation happens on the purva pada. So for example, you have Vishwa as the purva pada and Mitra as the uttara pada, and when you combine it, it is not Vishwamitra but it is Vishwamitra. So a transformation happens on the purva pada. Or similarly, Atman or Atmane is the purva pada and Padam is the uttara pada. When you combine it, it is not Atma Padam, it is Atmane Padam. So the Vibhakti is retained. Chaturthi, usually when you say Sitayaha Patihi, the Vibhakti has to be removed and you say Sita Patihi. But when Atman and Pada are combined, the Vibhakti is retained and you say Atmane Padam. In the same way, Parasmai Padam. So Vibhakti is retained, Chaturthi Vibhakti. So those kind of rules are there in 6.3, Purva Pade Parivartanam. There are multiple sutras in 7.2 that talk about idagama. So patha becomes pathitum, that idagama comes. Kru becomes kartum, idagama is not there. That discussion you will find sutras for that in idagama prakaranam in 7.2. Dharnatva, we know it as simple as atkupwangnum vyavayepi, right? So probably Ramena versus Ramena, but there are 38 sutras on Natva with so many complications and variations. So that's captured in 8.4. So in this way, Panini's Ashtadhyayi, or Panini has organized Ashtadhyayi in different sections so that all rules of that particular concept are placed together. It's not organized as simple rules versus complex rules. It's organized as prakarana by prakarana. And therefore, Ashtadhyayaha sutrakramaha bahu mahatvapurnaha. Because the sutra, its position tells which prakarana it is, and therefore the context of that rule gets fixed over there. Sutrani swasthanat nishkasya anyatra sthapyante chet sutrarthe parivartanam sambhavati. So for example, hypothetical example, if there is a sutram which says don't do the action mentioned on the previous sutra for the word Rama. Let's say there is a hypothetical sutra, so it says like this, that there is some rule given on the earlier line and then on the next line it says don't use this rule for the word Rama. Now imagine you pick this sutra and put somewhere else. What will happen? That sutra will now start saying that whatever rule was before that don't use for Rama. So entire system will collapse. So sutra kramaha bahu mahatvapurnaha sutrani swasthanat nishkasya anyatra sthapyante chet sutrarthe parivartanam sambhavati. And what a sutra is characterized by? So again, very famous shloka. I think everybody of you knows this. I don't expect you to know this, but I know everybody knows this. Alpaksharam asandigdham saravat vishwato mukham astobham anavadyam cha sutram sutravido viduhu. So let's start. What is alpaksharatvam? Anybody? What do each of these words mean? Vidyaji.
अल्पैः अक्षरैः उक्तं यत् नाम तत्र it cannot have any unnecessary अक्षरः इति अत्र.
Correct. So सूत्रे न्यूनाति न्यूनाः शब्दाः भवेयुः अनावश्यकाः शब्दाः like क्रियापदादिकं. You don't say वृद्धिरादैच भवति इति मम इच्छा अस्ति. Don't say all that. Just say वृद्धिरादैच. So सूत्रे न्यूनाति न्यूनाः शब्दाः भवेयुः क्रियापदादिकं नावश्यकम्. असंदिग्धत्वम. Who wants to speak? Uma Devi. You say असंदिग्धत्वम.
नमस्ते नमस्ते महोदय असंदिग्ध संशय नास्ति इति मन्ये.
सूत्रार्थ ज्ञाने संदेहः माभूत. Very good. Now understand, संदेहः माभूत to whom? Not to you or me, because we are all idiots. व्याख्यानतो विशेष प्रतिपत्तिः. So commentators, the scholars of the language who know the language and who all are interpreting the sutras, for them there should not be any sandeha. We will always have sandeha and therefore we have commentaries to refer to. But the real scholars should not have any kind of sandeha. Next one, saravatvam. Anybody? Madhavi.
प्रतिपदम् अर्धवन्तम् सम्पूर्ण अर्धं
Saravatvam. What is Sara? Sara is gist. So basically, Siddhantaha Drudha Rupena, Sara Rupena Uktaha. They should be affirmative and they should be written in a concise manner where entire information is properly captured. Vishwato Mukham. Mugdha.
यस्य विस्तृतः उपयोगः भवेत्.
So not one sutra for Ramaha, other for Rama, third for Ramaha. Sutranam prayogaha bahunam shabdanam siddhyartham bhavet. Astobhatvam. Vidyaji.
तस्य सूत्रेषु त्रुटिः न भवेत् इत्यर्थः.
So trutihi in the sense anavashyakani sutrani na bhaveyuhu. So redundancy should not be there. Paraspara viruddhani. So some says natvam bhavatu, others says natvam na bhavatu. So these kind of sutras should not be there. So anavashyakani paraspara viruddhani na bhaveyuhu. And finally anavadyatvam. Sudhavali.
Namaste Mahodaya. Sutre doshaha nasyu.
Very good. Sutrani anuchitani nasyu. So he does everything but writes a wrong rule. That should not happen. So sutre doshaha na bhaveyuhu. So these are the sutra lakshanas. So we talked about Panini, we talked about Ashtadhyayi, we talked about sutras, we talked about what are the prakaranas and so on. But there is a very fundamental question that I have not yet answered, and I'm going to take probably 20 more minutes, 25 more minutes for explaining answer to a very, very fundamental question. Ashtadhyayi kimartham adhyetavya. Why should you study Ashtadhyayi? Remember, in the very first class of the course, we talked about Vyakranam kimartham adhyetavyam. So that uha and asamshaya and so on. All that lines taken from the Mahabhashyam is about a general study of Vyakaranam, Raksha, Uha, Agama, Asandeha and so on. So that's about general study of Vyakaranam. So general study of Vyakaranam can be done by using Shabda Patha, Dhatu Rupavali and Rachananuvada Kaumudi, and there are hundreds of other books to do general study of Vyakarana. Why one should study Ashtadhyayi? Why you should study Vruddhiradai Jadaingunaha Ikomuna Vruddhi and so on? So it's a very crucial question. And before I answer this, I want to disappoint you by telling why not to study Ashtadhyayi. So understand this. If you want to study language, there is no need to study Ashtadhyayi. Bhasha jnanartham koshaha paryaptaha. Prarambhikam Vyakarana Jnanam Paryaptam. So many of you, for example, are able to read, write Sanskrit, can converse in Sanskrit, and you don't know any Ashtadhyayi at all, and life is going on very smoothly. So Bhasha Jnanartham, Sambhashanartham, Koshaha, Prarambhikam Vyakaranam Jnanam Paryaptam Asti, Tadartham Ashtadhyayi Sutrani na Avashakani. Samanya Sambhashanartham, the same thing. If you want to converse, Samanya Sambhashanartham Ashtadhyayi Sutranam Adhyanam Navashakam. I know so many people who speak such a beautiful and fluent Sanskrit, multiple times better than what I can speak, and they don't know a single sutra. So, Tadartham Ashtadhyayi Sutranam Adhyanam Navashakam. कुत्रचित व्याकरणदोषः भवतु भवेदपि परंतु आचार्याः, you have your teachers, you have your scholars who will be able to tell you that this word is not to be used in this way, it should be used in that way, and you remember that and fix that mistake going ahead. So कुत्रचित व्याकरणस्य दोषः क्रियते चेत् आचार्याः तं दूरीकुर्युः. Yet another misconception. I mean, I'm trying to make you run away from my own course, probably putting stone on my own, putting an axe on my own leg, but this needs to be, you all need to hear this. वेदानाम अध्ययनार्थम उपनिषदाम अध्ययनार्थम गीतायाः ब्रह्मसूत्राणाम शांकरभाष्यस्य अध्ययनार्थम अष्टाध्यायी सूत्राणाम अध्ययनम नावश्यकम. No Ashtadhyayi Sutra is going to tell you Siddhantas from Veda, Upanishad, Gita, and so on. So, for example, in Gita Pravesha 2, most of you have studied Gita Pravesha 2, every shloka of Bhagavad Gita is explained word by word without referring to a single sutra. So, just learn basic grammar and you will be able to study Upanishad, Gita, Ramayana, for example, Brahma Sutra. And for all this, you have to refer to Shankara Bhashya, or you have to refer to corresponding translations or Bhashyas along with the Koshas. Ashtadhyayi Sutra are not going to play major role over there. Sahityasa rasaswadartham Ashtadhyayi Sutrani navashakani. In order to understand the beauty of Vagarthaviva Samprukta, you don't need to know that Vagarthaviva is a Nitya Samasa created by Ivena Nitya Samasa Vibhakti Lopascha. That's in fact going to reduce the rasaswada. In order to enjoy Mandam Mandam Nodati Pavanachanapuro Yathatvam, you don't need to understand that Mandam Mandam is a Dvitva created by a certain Padadvitva rule of Ashtadhyayi. So Sahityasya Rasaswada is different. I always give this example. You don't need to be a TV mechanic to be able to watch and enjoy the programs on TV. Exactly in that way, Sahityasya Rasaswadartham Ashtadhyayi Sutrani Navashakani. Stotra Pathanena Punya Sampadhanartham Ashtadhyayi Sutrani Navashakani. Always remember, Bhakti and Vibhakti don't go hand in hand. You can say Vishnaya Namaha as long as you have immense devotion towards Lord Vishnu. When you say this, you will get the necessary punya. I'm not telling this, this is what the books tell us. So, Stotra Pathanena Punya Sampadhanartham. Many of you recite Vishnu Sahasranam on a regular basis. There is one shloka in Vishnu Sahasranam towards the end of it, which everybody of you pronounces in the wrong way, and you don't know, and it has never made any difference. नमोस्तुनंताय सहस्रमूर्तये सहस्रपादाक्षिशिरोरुबाहवे सहस्रनाम्ने पुरुषाय शाश्वते. There is no word called shashvate in Sanskrit. Shashvata shabdasya chaturthi ekvacham. So because you are using namaha, you should be using chaturthi, which is shashvataya, not shashvate. And there is no takaranta word called shashvat in any kosha whose chaturthi ekvachanam would be shashvate. So anybody of you who is speaking namostvanantaya, what shashvate is making a grammatical mistake. But that doesn't matter because bhakti and vibhakti don't go hand in hand. So stotra pathanena punya sampadhanartham ashtadhyayi sutrani navashakani. And if you want to specialize in a certain field, Ayurveda, Rasayana Shastra, Jyotisha, Ganita Shastra, you have their own books. Read the Charaka Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, Bhaskaracharya's Leelavati, and so on. You don't need to study Ashtadhyayi Sutras. So I know I am going to invite anger of many grammar teachers who are trying to sell the study of Ashtadhyayi, but you need to hear this. Neti, 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 neti. You don't need Ashtadhyayi for any of this. Take my word for it. Tarhi kimartham Ashtadhyayi adhyetavya. So this is a very, very, very crucial question that every one of us should find an answer to. You all are spending so much of your energy in answering the homework questions, making those beautiful charts and extensive notes, probably watching the recordings multiple times. And I'm aware that homeworks are very complex and still more than 50 of you are regularly doing it. The question is why? And the answer to this question, if that answer is one of the things listed over here, that I'm studying Ashtadhyayi because I want to enjoy Raghuvamsha and Meghaduta and study Vedas and all that, then to be very honest, you are on a wrong track. You can carry out these things to a great extent. Obviously, if you want to be the biggest scholar in that field, you will need some backing from the sutras. But we are not talking about that. We are talking about Punya Sampadana, Rasasvada, understanding basic meanings of the Gita verse and all that. So you can do all this without really bothering with Ashtadhyayi Sutras. But still all of you are here studying the Ashtadhyayi Parichaya course. And therefore, after today's class, I want each one of you to reflect back on why you want to study these 400 sutras that I'm going to teach in this course. And in fact, this question is so important that I have given this as a homework question today. Bhavan nochet bhavati ashtadhyayi sutrani kimartham adhyetum ichhati. And I want to read that answer. See this, Bhavan Bhavati Ashtadhyayi Sutrani Kimartham Adhyetum Ichhati. And I want to read that answer from each one of you and understand your motivation behind joining this course. And now, because I have asked you to attempt this question, I also think it's my duty to give an answer from my side. And therefore, I'm going to give you not one, not two, but three different answers, three different reasons why one might study, not necessarily will, but might study Ashtadhyayi Sutras. The first of the reasons is very personal. It is only applicable to me. I don't think it is applicable to any of you. The second reason is more generic, and I believe that it should be applicable to all of us. And the third reason is actually given in Mahabhashya. So Mahabhashya talks about this point, Kimartham Adhyetavya Ashtadhyayi. And Mahabhashya gives a very unique, very different reason, kind of weird. Some of you might appreciate it, some of you might not appreciate it, but I'm going to discuss that. So that's what I'm going to discuss, probably 10 more minutes, but we are going to focus on this particular topic in details, Kimartham Ashtadhyayi Adhyetavya. So let's talk about my personal reason. I mean, I'm going to read your reason, so it's my duty to tell you my personal reason. So honestly, I study Ashtadhyayi because for me, it is an inner drive, it is an inner passion. And this passion is so strong for me that if I don't study or if I don't teach a sutra every day or on most of the days, I can't get a sound sleep at night. And in fact, this is the very reason why Ashtadhyayi.com even came into existence. The extensive existing work and a lot more remains, but the work that has gone into this website, there are many features that are not even advertised and you won't even know, is purely because of that ongoing spark of passion. And this is my own reason, and it doesn't really really need to be the reason for most of you, for many of you, and that is perfectly okay. What I encourage you is to find your own reason. Make sure that it's not one of these, but find your own reason and keep it in mind throughout this course. Now that was the first reason, which was very personal. Let me now give you another reason. In my opinion, this reason is very crucial and it is applicable to every one of us. We all should study Ashtadhyayi Sutras to become free of all doubts about correctness. So, Drudharitya Vina Samshayam Shabda Prayogan Kartum Ashtadhyayi Sutrani Adhyetavyani. Howsoever introductory grammar books you might have studied, if you have not studied the sutras in details, you will never be 100% sure about the correctness of the words that you are using. Let me give a very simple analogy. Unless you read and understand the actual income tax rule book in full details, line by line, you will never be 100% sure that you are able to save that last possible dollar of your income. it is quite likely, that there is some sort of weird exemption or some sort of non-popular scheme which is written somewhere hidden in those pages, and it's not even advertised by those TurboTax, ClearTax, your CAs, CPAs are not advertising it, because they are basically giving a generic view, whereas there is something else that's applicable for your particular situation. Therefore, the only way to perfectly make sure that you are saving that last dollar is to go and read the rule book. And that's exactly the case over here. The only way to master the language precisely, to be completely doubtless that I know that this works in this way, the only way is to read the sutras. So दृढरीत्या विना संशयं शब्दप्रयोगान् कर्तुम् अष्टाध्यायी सूत्राणि अध्येतव्यानि. And here is an example. All of you were confused about Harim Vande versus Harim Vande, Anuswar versus Makara, and many of your books are also misguiding. Only when you study the Sutra Monuswara properly with its Samhitadhikara, not just standalone Monuswara Sutra, but with its Samhitadhikara, you will understand that both of these are correct. Another example, Pattuhu Balika or Pattvi Balika. Should you make a feminine form of Pattuhu to become Pattvi when you are using it with, say, Balika? Well, there is always a doubt. Is Pattuhu Balika correct? Is not, a feminine word being used with a masculine word? Only when you learn a sutra called Voto Gudavachanat, you will understand that there is an optional Stri Pratyaya in this case, and therefore Pattuhu Balika is acceptable. Yet another biggest confusion, I'm just bursting some bridges today, but Ramaha Gachan Asti versus Ramaha Gacchati. 90% of you believe that Ramaha Gachan Asti is present continuous, Ram is going, whereas Ramaha Gacchati is Ram goes. No, let me burst down that particular belief. There is sutra, learn sutras and you will understand. When you learn Latashatrusana Chava Prathama Samanadhikarane, you will understand that Ramaha Gachan Asti and Ramaha Gacchati are exactly identical in meaning. There is no present continuous in Sanskrit. Ramaha Kavyam Patati Sma. Most of you are taught to translate this as Rama used to read the Kavya. That used to thing comes up. Past continuous, like there was present continuous over here. Again, no. Read the sutra, Latsme, and you will understand that atra used to iti artha kutrapi na dattah asti. Ramaha Kavyam Patati Sma is the same as the lit lakara Ramaha Kavyam Papatha. So these are just handful of examples, but hundreds of such examples can be found out where you will understand that unless you really have a backing on the sutra, you cannot be 100% sure. There was a teacher, this is a real incident that happened around 8 or 9 years ago. There was a Sahitya scholar, I was discussing with that person, and that person said something, and I suddenly corrected that person. I usually don't do it, but out of that instinct. And then the person said, I always had doubt about this because even after excelling so much into Sahitya, I had not studied Panini Sutras. So a scholar of Sahitya asserts the need of studying Panini Sutras to be able to 100% sure about how you are using the words and what is their sadhutva. So when you say Shabda Sadhutvartham Vyakranam Adhyetavyam, that's the whole essence that goes behind that word. Shabda Sadhutva. So that's the second reason. Dhrudharitya vina samshayam shabda prayogan kartum ashtadhyayi sutrani adhyetavyani. And the third reason, which is given in Bhashya, is very interesting, is very unique. And let's have a look at this before I take the questions from some of you. So there is this particular sutram called Prushodaradini Yathopadishtam. There is this sutram in Ashtadhyayi, Prushodaradini Yathopadishtam. Very interesting sutra, and the discussion on this sutra is even more interesting. But let's go slow. There is this word called Prushodara, which is used in this particular sutra. The word Prushodara means Prushad Udaram Yasya Saha. We have seen this word Prushad, Stula Prushatim. So Prushad means spotted, the one that has spots. So Prushad Udaram Yasya Saha, just like the way Pitam Ambaram Yasya Saha. So Prushad Udaram Yasya Saha, the one whose belly is spotted. you call that person or that animal as Prushodara, and the way this happens is Prushad is the Purva Pada, Udara is the Uttara Pada. But when you combine Prushad plus Udara, it becomes Prushadodara, whereas the word is Prushodara. So what happens in the Prakriya is this Dakara somehow vanishes. The vanishes, only Prusha remains, and Prusha plus Udara becomes Prushodara. So that's the Lopa. Remember, one of the operations that we have studied in the last class. The ironical thing is that there is no sutram in Ashtadhyayi that will actually do the Lopa of this Dakara. And therefore, the commentary clarifies Prushodaradini Shabdarupani, the words like Prushodara and others. Prushodara, and there is a list of such words. येषु विद्यमानाः लोप आगम वर्ण विकाराः शास्त्रेण न विहिताः. Shastra ityukte Paniniya system. That system does not give the rules for the lopa, the agama, the adesha, some kind of pratyavidhanam and so on for these words. So Prushodara and others, this is a list where some kind of mishap is happening which is not backed up by the sutra. So for example, in Prushad plus Udara, that Dakara is vanished, Lopaha bhavati, parantu tatra tasya krute niyamaha nasti. So Prushodaradini Shabda Rupani Bhashayam Drishyante. You see those in the language. Parantu Shastrena na vihitaha. Tani yathopadishtani sadhuni bhavanti. Whatever they have been mentioned or whatever way they are used, yatha upadishtani. Whatever way they are being used in the language, consider them as valid. Sadhuni bhavanti. So Prushodara ityadinam shabdanam vyutpattishu avashakaha lopaha adeshaha ityadikam vyakarana sutraihi na diyate. Parantu eteshu shabdeshu vidyamanaha ete varna vikaraha. So the lopa happens. Is there Ashtadhyayi Sutra? No. But still the lopa happens. Why? Because the scholars accept it. Shishtaihi ete varna vikaraha svikrutaha santi. Atah ete varna vikaraha asmabhihi api svikartavyaha. So this word shishta is used in the Mahabhashyam for describing this particular sutra, and Bhashyakara says that even if there is no rule in Ashtadhyayi, shishtas have accepted the lopa over here, so you take the lopa for granted. So see, this is actually conflicting on what we saw on the previous slide. On the previous slide, we say that if you don't want to have any kind of doubt, if you want to be very sure about the words, study Ashtadhyayi Sutras. But now we are seeing an example called Prushodara and others, where Ashtadhyayi Sutra doesn't give a Dakara Lopa, but Shishtas accept the Dakara Lopa, and therefore we also accept it. So that's not really Ashtadhyayi Sutras, that's actually Shishtas. So first of all, very first question is, who is this Shishta? Who is this person called Shishta? So, Ke Punaha Shishtaha. Who are these Shishtas? Is Panini not the Shishta? He has already given 4,000 sutras. So, Ke Punaha Shishtaha. And the Bhashyakara answers this in a very beautiful manner. My second favorite line in the entire Mahabhashya. The first being, Ekaha Shabdaha Samyagnataha Shastranvitaha Suprayuktaha Swarge Loke Kamadhuk Bhavati. And this is the second line. Bhashyakara says, listen this, and if possible, memorize this. Ke punashishtaha etasmin aryavarte aryanivase ye brahmanaha kumbhidhanyaha alolupaha agrihyamana karanaha kinchid antarena kasyaschid vidyayaha parangataha tatra bhavantaha shishtaha. Who are the Shishtas? These are the people who are in this Aryavarta, who are in this Bharatavarsha. Brahmana is not the caste, the Brahma Adhite, those who aspire for the knowledge. Kumbhidhanyaha, and they don't think anything beyond the knowledge. So they don't necessarily earn a lot of money. They have only that much of grains in the house which is sufficient for one pot. So they don't have the pantry full of all sorts of stuff, because they are not even interested in that. They're not interested in the materialistic things. They're not interested in any kind of luxury. They have bare minimum food items at home. Kumbhidhanyaha, kumbham yavad dhanyam tesham gruhe vidyate. Alolupaha, still they are not greedy. Lolupa means lubdha. Still they are not greedy. Agrihyamana karanaha, they are naturally good behaved. Even if you are rich and you are earning so much, they don't have any kind of jealousy towards you. They are naturally good behaved. They don't expect anything in return for doing those good actions. And most important, किंचिद अंतरेण कस्याश्चित विद्यायाः पारंगताः. Without any reason, they study the shastra of their choice. So they don't need a reason to study. It's just the passion that makes them study. It's just that interest, that drive that makes them study. So kinchid antarena, without any reason, kasyashchit vidyayaha parangataha, they have crossed that ocean of the knowledge. Tatra bhavantaha shishtaha. So they are standing on that other bank and they have completely crossed that knowledge, river of knowledge. They are the shishtas. एतस्मिन् आर्यावर्ते आर्यनिवासे ये ब्राह्मणाः कुम्भिधान्याः अलोलुपाः अगृह्यमाणकारणाः किञ्चिद् अन्तरेण कस्याश्चिद् विद्यायाः पारङ्गताः तत्र भवन्तः शिष्टाः. So on one side, we say that Ashtadhyayi Sutra should be studied, and on the second side, we say that whatever Shishtas say should be acceptable. So the student asks this question, Yadi Shishtaha Shastreshu Pramanam, Kim Ashtadhyaya Kriyate? What's the point of studying Ashtadhyayi if Shishtas are basically the point of truth? And then this is the third reason. I mean, I have given two reasons. This is the third reason that is quoted by Bhashyakara. Some of you might appreciate it, some of you might not. He says, Shishta Parijnanartha Ashtadhyayi. So Ashtadhyayi is for understanding who is the Shishta. So you study a little bit of Ashtadhyayi. Now you have some sense, some idea that these kind of words are correct and these are not. And you see other people who have that knowledge and in addition they have an extra knowledge. That is a litmus test to believe that, okay, he is a Shishta, which means that whatever I don't know, he also probably knows. So whatever is there in Ashtadhyayi and whatever is there beyond that, he knows. So he is the Shishta. So katham punah ashtadhyaya shishtaha, not shishtaha, shishtaha shakyaha vidnyatum ashtadhyayim adhiyanaha, the one who studies Ashtadhyayi. Anyam pashyati anadhiyanam. He sees another person who apparently doesn't study Ashtadhyayi because he has already studied. Yeva asyam vihitaha shabdaha tan prayunchanam. So those people, they don't study Ashtadhyayi, but they are fluent in all the new words that we have currently learned while we are studying Ashtadhyayi. So saha pashyati, so this student of Ashtadhyayi now realizes, he thinks, nunam asya devanugraha swabhavaha vaha yaha ayam cha Ashtadhyayim na adhite parantut asyam vihitaha shabdaha tan prayumte. He doesn't study Ashtadhyayi, but he seems to know everything that I already know. So nunam ayam anyan api janati. He probably knows everything in Ashtadhyayi and beyond that, like the words like Vrushodara, Prushodara and others. And therefore he is a Shishta and I should listen to him. So I'm not going to listen to any random person who writes any book and tells me any rule, but I'll use my knowledge as a litmus test to find out that this person is a Shishta. So this is yet another interesting prayojanam of Ashtadhyayi, Shishta Parijnanartha Ashtadhyayi. So this way, there are three different prayojanas that I gave. And as I said, I have given you a question to find your own prayojana. Think about it. Just don't copy from the slide deck. Think about it. Bhavan Bhavati Ashtadhyayi Sutrani Kimartham Adhyetum Ichchati. So here we will stop today. There are a few more things, so don't disconnect. The second question in the homework is Sutra Patham Anvishya Yatha Nirdishtam Sutram Sankhya Sah Likhata. So I have given you some detective exercise where question is given, you have to look into the Ashtadhyayi to find a matching sutra. And for that, I have also given the online resources. So Sutra Patha, obviously everybody knows this. Learn how to use the search bar. The search bar is very powerful. You can use search with the numbers. You can search with any Devanagari phrase. You can search with any of the well-known transliteration schemes like iTrans and IAST and SLP1 and so on. You can also use the left menu. So as I said, there are so many features you might not know. Just use the left menu. You can toggle between the Ashtadhyayi order and the alphabetical Akaradhikrama order. And in upcoming classes, when I'll teach Siddhanta Kaumudi, Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi and other books, I'll show you the other bullets as well. And then on the right side, you can see this particular Sutra Patha Sadhanani. Where did Sutra Patha Sadhanani go? So you can see this, for example, Ashtadhyayi Parayanam. You click over there and you will see Padashaha view. So for example, Prathamadhyaya, Prathama Pada, Dvitiya Pada, Tritiya Pada, and so on. So if, for example, you want to search in any particular pada, you can actually use this particular view over here. There is also player. You can click on this and start playing the sutras. This will be very useful when you start reciting the first adhyaya later in the course. And then there is also this thing called Ashtadhyayi Shabdanukramaha, where all the words of Ashtadhyayi are present as a list, and then you click on any word and then it gives a cross link and all the words are being provided in a net. So many features are there and most of you probably are not aware of it. As the course goes, I'll probably disclose many more features that are specific to that particular class. So the features that I discussed today might be used for this particular homework, and that's why I gave this particular online resource slide today. So atra samapayamaha. One quick announcement. Tomorrow and only for tomorrow, the class will start 30 minutes late, and then obviously it will end 30 minutes late. So if you are in the US, instead of 8 p.m., it will start 8:30 p.m. PST. If you're in India, instead of 9:30, it will start 10 a.m. Indian Standard Time. I know for some of you, this timing is not suitable. So it is okay if you skip the class. I am not able to take the class at the normal time and I don't want to skip just because of a minor delay. So if you're not able to attend the class tomorrow, that's okay. Watch the video once it gets uploaded. In tomorrow's class, we are going to take a detailed account. So one full class on Ashtadhyayi Dhatu Pathaha. So today I discussed Ashtadhyayi Sutra Pathaha in details. Details in the sense introduction. All sutras will go in multiple classes, but just the introduction of Sutra Pathaha. In tomorrow's class, the entire focus is going to be Dhatu Pathaha. So if possible, attend the class. Otherwise, watch the video. Reminder once again, the class will start 30 minutes late only for tomorrow. Samapayamaha. Now, if anybody of you has questions, you can raise hands. If there are no questions, we will disconnect. Sudhavalli.
Mahodaya, Paninaha, Itaha Nama, Shalanku is given.
There are many other names. I just picked a few of them. So it's quite possible that there are many other names. That's okay, not an issue.
And one more question. When we are pronouncing Va, we are using only one lip. Then Ashto, Oshto, why we are using that Dvayam there? Va, when
Va, the letter Va. No,
yes,
we use teeth. So you might not be able to feel.
Teeth and lips, lip, only one lip is used.
No, only one lip is used means the gap between the two lips is the place from which the air comes, right? You're not using one. I mean, with one lip you can't pronounce anything. You might not feel it, but it's a gap between the two lips from which the air comes out. So Va is actually, there is a movement of both the lips. So now I don't know the detailed shastra, how is which lip used in which case and so on. But generally it is accepted that for all letters it's Oshtho.
Okay. Dhanyawad.
Anjali Bhagini.
Namaste. Is there any way to express present continuous or past continuous tense then?
There is no way in Sanskrit to express present continuous and past continuous. So there's funny thing that in Ashtadhyayi, Vartamana Kala is actually divided into three parts. You don't know this, it's actually quite advanced. So for example, when you say Ramaha Tishtati, whereas when you say Parvataha Tishtati, there is a difference. I mean, when you say Parvataha Tishtati, it stays for continuous time. So that's not actually present continuous, but the duration is longer. Whereas Ramaha Tishtati is for a few minutes probably. So based on that, some kind of classification is done, but it is only for understanding. Expressing, it's all Tishtati only. There is no difference in the expression of any of those. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
You cannot express present continuous separately or past continuous separately or anything like that. Okay. Arun Mahoday.
Namaskar, Mahoday. Mahoday, during my previous studies, we have come across certain words, and they said that is Arsha Prayoga, it is Rishi Prayoga, and they don't have grammatical correctness. So is this Prushodhara also something like that? Because we are told that the language came first, and then we have divided it into Pratyaya and Prakriti and Pratyaya. So when you say Prashodha and then Udaraha, is it Prashodha correct or Prasho is itself was correct?
So Arsha Prayoga is the Prayoga for which there is not even an Ashtadhyayi Sutra backing it. Whereas when it Prushodhara, there is a sutra called 63109 which says Prushodharadini Yathopadishtam. So Panini directly says that refer to Shishtas when it comes to the words in the list of Prushodharas. So Panini acknowledges the word Prushodhara, he acknowledges that Lopa is not given by him. So again, as I mentioned, this refers back to, is this a mistake by Panini? No, every sutra has a reason behind it. The reason why Panini does not give the Lopa on Dakara is not because he forgot it, but because he wants to tell us to go to the Shishtas. So this way, Prushodhara is actually captured in the system, whereas Arsha is completely not captured in the system. So it's
so he has neglected Arsha Prayoga completely then?
What did you
he
say?
has not taken Panini, he has not even...
Of course, I mean, remember, right, in the very first class we say, right, na drushtaiti vayyase shabdamma. So there are millions or hundreds or thousands of words in Mahabharata which are not there in Ashtadhyayi or in any other grammar. That's because every grammar is going to have a limitation. So it's as simple as that.
Dhanyavad.
Any other person who wants to? There were a couple of raised hands, but suddenly everything disappeared. So maybe I already answered. Anam Rani.
Mahoday, I have a small doubt. This Ashtadhyayi.com is developed by you or some other?
By me only. Why will I? I mean, why will I say I developed it by somebody else? See, just go over here. Where?
Here, some Vasu name is there. Ashtadhyayi.com. Some Vasu name is there in the first page.
Some what name?
Vasu.
Oh,
that's what actually.
Does anybody want to answer this question instead of me? There is some Vasu name over here. What is that? Does anybody wants to answer this question? He is a great commentator of Ashtadhyayi. Whose comment? If you click over there, his commentary is written over here. So when I say Ashtadhyayi.com is developed by me, I have not written any of those commentaries. So all these commentaries are written by scholars. Padamanjari, Siddhanta Kaumudi, Bala Manoma are all scholarly work. I have just collected it and presented it for our own study and benefit. That's it. And this
no, that's what Mahoday. Actually, I want to know who developed this such a useful site. So I asked somebody. He told yes, he Vasu is there. He developed like that. He don't. But every time you are telling, that's why I'm introduced in this site.
Vasu is a scholar. I don't think he's alive. He's a scholar. He has a book called Ashtadhyayi of Ashtadhyayi of Panini, and we recently digitized this book and we took the commentary from that. And the only thing on this website is this initial portion, all that simple Sanskrit commentary, that is my own commentary. So other than that, and similarly on other pages. So for example, on Shiva Sutrani pages, whatever commentary you see over here is all my commentary. If you see grammatical errors, it is my commentary because I might have made so many errors. Otherwise, it's all written.
I'm so much happy to be your Shishya Mahodaya. I like this site so much. I have a computer background. So I want to involve in this while developing the site. But I asked somebody who developed this. So that's why I asked. Thank you, Mahodaya. Dhanyawada.
Yes, Sunanda ji. Namaste.
हाँ नमस्ते महोदय श्रूयते वा श्रूयते हाँ भवान् पूर्वं हाउ टू यूज अष्टाध्यायी.com इति विषये एकं वर्गं कृतवान् खलु तस्य कृपया तस्य लिंक प्रेषयति वा महोदय अहं सम्यक् न जानामि किमर्थम् अहं टेक्नालजी न जानामि महोदय अतः अष्टाध्यायी.com सम्यक् रूपेण तस्य उपयोगं कर्तुं न शक्नोमि
Correct. No problem. I'll describe it. And if you go to YouTube, for example, if you say youtube.ashtadhyayi, if you just go to the Ashtadhyayi channel, this is the very first video that you will see. Now, I can't see it because I am the owner of the site, but the very first video that appears on the website is that particular video. If you go to Ashtadhyayi website on YouTube, but I will send the link after the class on the WhatsApp.
धन्यवादः महोदय.
Anything else? Any other questions? So initially I advertised that the class would be 60 minutes, but I think I'm going to officially change the timings for 75 minutes because I can't seem to finish up everything in 60 minutes along with question answers. So let's make sure that every class is 75 minutes and you reserve 75 minutes every two days a week for the class. So samapayamaha, shwaha punaha melishamaha, half an hour later than today, only for tomorrow. अष्टाध्यायी जगन्माता यस्य चित्तात् समुत्थिता वेदानाम् उपकाराय तस्मै पाणिनिये नमः. शब्द ब्रह्म समाराध्य कृतवान्यो विलक्षणं सर्वाश्चर्यमिदं शास्त्रं तस्मै पाणिनिये नमः. येन धौता गिरः पुंसां विमलैः शब्दवारिभिः तमश्चाज्ञानजं भिन्नं तस्मै पाणिनिये नमः. धन्यवादः.